Hi, I'm Mark and welcome to my book reviews. Today I have my top 5 crime novels for you on your Christmas vacation. We start today in Scotland with From the Shadows by G.R. Halliday. Murderous Highlands, start of the new spectacular crime series from Scotland. It is in Inverness in Scotland, the beautiful idyllic area shaken by a terrible crime. The body of 16-year-old Robert is found in the Scottish Highlands. He was carefully draped by his killer, and there's a black stone in his windpipe. D.I. Monica Kennedy is a veteran investigator, but this case is very painful to her. Her instinct tells her this is just the beginning, and she should be right, because the killer lurks hidden in the dark and watches and waits. G.R. Halliday was born in Edinburgh and grew up near Stirling in Scotland. He spent much of his childhood watching his father investigate unexplained secrets. Fascinated by this, some of these stories became the source of inspiration for his debut novel. Today he lives with his partner in a gang of semi-wild cats near Inverness in the Scottish Highlands. Second, I have The Eye of God by Celia L for you. It's England in 1471. King Edward IV hopes to win the Wars of the Roses with a decisive battle. But then, in precisely this battle, he loses the Eye of God, a jewel that hides an extremely explosive secret. Catherine Swinbrook, healer and detective, is tasked with the recovery. A dangerous task, as it turns out, because the Eye of God is leaving a terrible trail of murder and betrayal. Celia L. is one of Paul Doherty's numerous pseudonyms, by the way. He was born in Middlesbrough in 1946, the fourth of 9 children. He completed his school days in a Catholic boarding school. He then worked with little success as a garbage collector, street sweeper, bus driver, waiter, and servant ruprecht. He then wanted to become a priest, but rejected it after 3 years and then studied history in Liverpool and Oxford. He was the principal of the Trinity Catholic High School for many years. Paul Doherty has 6 children and lives in London. Next, I have Nobody Loves a Centurion by John Madox Roberts for you. The year is 58 BC. Julius Caesar stands with his army in the Rhone Valley, besieged by wild Gallic tribes. It doesn't look good for the glorious Roman legions, especially since a horde of Germanic warriors has crossed the Rhine and is advancing towards the Rhone. Then there's a murder case in the Roman camp. The victim is Titus Vinius, a corrupt centurion who is generally hated by his soldiers. Decius Caecilius Metellus, who because of his enemies had moved from Rome to the army against his will, is commissioned by Caesar to investigate the case. It doesn't take him long to realize that it wasn't just the legionnaires who had reason to want the centurion's, death. Decius encounters a number of inconsistencies. Where did the enormous sums of money Vinius got from selling land in Italy from? What was the centurion's secret contacts with the rebellious Gauls about? And what role does Freda, the beautifully Germanic slave of Vilnius, who the whole camp is after, play? What role does she play? When Decius receives the first death threats, he realizes with a frightening certainty that his enemies are not just beyond the camp gates. So the Germans are not his only problem. Well, now of course we come to our famous master detective. Sherlock Holmes, A Study in Scarlet by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. 2 men are found dead. The London police are at a loss. Sherlock Holmes has just talked to Dr. Watson, who moved into an apartment on Baker Street. With his amazing talent for combination, he quickly recognizes the signs that will lead him to the perpetrator. However, this story goes a very, very wide arc to the land of the Mormons in Utah. Well, A Study in Scarlet is the very first case of Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson. The book not only tells a highly exciting case, but also gives insights into the beginnings of a legendary friendship between men. Arthur Conan Doyle, who lived from 1859 to 1930, was a doctor in Southsea in southern England. In 1887, he invented the figure of the ingeniously eccentric detective Sherlock Holmes, who solves his cases solely with the help of his outstanding intellect, through precise observation and logical combinations. From 1891, The Adventures of the Master Detective appeared as a series in The Stand magazine, quickly gained a large fan base, and allowed Doyle to live as a freelance writer in London from then on. And finally, of course, I have The Grande Dame of Crime for you, with 450 from Paddington by Agatha Christie. From her train compartment, Elspeth McGillicuddy observes a murder on another train. She has to watch helplessly as a man strangles a woman. The woman goes down, the train drives away. There are no suspects, no other witnesses, and, last but not least, no corpse either. Nobody believes Elspeth, except for her friend Miss Marple, who does not rest until she has arrested the perpetrator. Agatha Christie founded the modern British crime novel and became the most famous crime writer of all time in the course of her life. Her popular heroes Hercule Poirot and Miss Marple are known to an audience of millions, also through the film adaptations. In 1971 she was raised to the nobility. Agatha Christie died in 1976 at the age of 85. Of course, the film adaptations of her books are also unforgettable. For example, with Peter Ustinov as Hercule Poirot, or my absolute favorite, Margaret Rutherford as Miss Marple. I hope I was able to encourage some of you to read on the quiet days. My next video with even more great books is right here in the end screen. I'll see you there. Bis gleich.